Hello and welcome to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. Mass layoffs continue across the federal government as the Trump administration works to decrease the size of the federal government. 15 minutes, that's how long fired federal workers had at USAID headquarters this week in Northwest to grab their belongings and get out. It was an emotional day for some of the 16,000 USAID employees, many saying goodbye to their co-workers. Maryland Congressman Glenn Ivey joins Capitol Review this week to talk about the impacts. Here's a look at our conversation. And joining us now once again is Congressman Glenn Ivey. Congressman, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here. A lot going on right now. Talk about what Democrats are doing, or at least trying to do, with all that is going on with the Trump administration's job cuts.
Yeah, really trying to fight back hard on what's going on there, both with the job cuts, but also with some of the legislation they moved through, like the budget resolution that cuts Medicaid by $880 billion. So we're on the jobs front. You know, we've got a summit coming up on, that we're doing a series of town hall meetings to try and address these issues and get the information to the public. Government employees in particular need the information about what their legal rights are, so we're trying to provide that information and connect them up with lawyers that can help represent them. We're working with the unions, who are also providing legal assistance, and many times represent them at these departments and agencies and have collective bargaining agreements in place that can help them understand their rights and protect them and defend them even better than they can as individuals. So that's the overall goal right now.
Congressman, obviously, you know, these job cuts are affecting real people across the country. Take a listen to some of the reaction of people who literally had minutes to gather all their belongings.
It's really inhumane to have just 15 minutes to get your stuff after a lifetime of work and service and supporting U.S. interests abroad. It's really devastating and awful.
I personally find that incredibly disrespectful to career civil servants and foreign service officers who have spent years, decades, their entire careers in service of the American people.
It just feels profoundly disrespectful to workers. To treat them in the way that they are being treated should chill and horrify all of us.
Your reaction, these are real people affected in real time. Is there a better way to go about this?
Oh, absolutely. This is intentionally horrific and an attempt to traumatize federal employees and force them out. I think the Trump administration realized pretty soon on that they don't have the legal authority to terminate a lot of these employees. So they're just trying to scare them out, pressure them out, intimidate them out, harass them out. And fortunately, we've got a lot of courts that have issued injunctions that are blocking that. But it's really difficult. Frankly, it's disgusting the way he's going after these individuals, many of whom have just provided public service for their careers, and they've gotten excellent reviews over the decades, and you know, it's been tremendously beneficial to the country and in some instances the world. So it's a shame that he's going about it this way, and it needs to stop. We need to do everything we can to terminate this.
You may have seen video of Elon Musk, whose name seems to be out there just as much as the president. He was on stage at CPAC with a chainsaw. It seemed like it was even somewhat celebratory.
Yeah, it's like he was like a 10-year-old, you know, playing a prank or something, and he doesn't realize sort of the impact of what this can have. I mean, think about certainly the people who are impacted by this, absolutely terrible. But, you know, I ran into one person who was terminated. She worked at NIH. They were in the middle of doing clinical trials, and she talked about some of the other people who were doing research on, you know, finding cures for cancer, Alzheimer's, and the like. Shutting that down is going to waste millions of dollars, and in many instances, they're just going to have to start from scratch instead of being able to pick up where they left off. This is damaging to the country, and there's really no benefit in doing it this way.
Midterms, still less than 2 years away. Do you remind the public of these moments, and do you have to have a collective message that's going to resonate with voters?
I think it's already starting to crystallize. You know, we're seeing people in, national polls that are saying, this isn't really what I bargained for. People that voted for Trump, by and large, thought he was going to help them with the economy. He's done anything but. Most of the stuff he's done so far hasn't focused on the economy directly, and to the extent he's doing things that would impact the economy, like the tariffs, which are basically just a sales tax on American consumers, it's actually going to worsen the economy and take money away from everyday people who need it the most. So I think it's starting to move in the right direction from the standpoint of a pushback on what he's doing. The Medicaid cuts can be devastating too. One of the people from New Jersey said the state budget's like $55 billion. These cuts will amount to $9 billion in cuts. So it's just under 20% of what that state's going to do. And in southern states where they rely very heavily on Medicaid, it's going to be even more devastating. So red states are going to really feel the brunt of what he's doing right now.
Congressman Glenn Ivey, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.